Hi guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is CeeChronicles. If you're new to this channel, you're most definitely welcome. I do fragrance reviews mostly, and I do lifestyle and fashion videos. So if it sounds like something you're interested in, please do not leave without subscribing. I would appreciate that. And to my returning subscribers, thank you for coming along. I appreciate you always. I am bringing you a fragrance video today, but this is not a review video. I am bringing you a tag. I was tagged by Veronica Says. But this tag was created by Chantelle Tiffany. This tag is about the smells of summer. I will put Veronica Says channel in the description box below, and I will put Chantelle Tiffany's channel link in the description box below so that you can check out their channels and support their channels as well. So this tag was created by Chantelle Tiffany, and I was in turn tagged by Veronica Says. It's called The Smells of Summer. What I'm basically going to do today is I'm going to talk to you, or I'm going to tell you about what scent associations what scents I associate with summer, and what memories they evoke, fragrance wise, right? So I'm going to go straight into the video. Growing up, I was very sporty. I was into athletics. It's a complete opposite of what I am now, so I'm not claiming what I'm not. But growing up, I was into athletics at school. And we used to run tracks, especially in the blazing heat. For some reason, we had to do sports when it was super, super hot, the hottest months of the year. That's when we used to do sports. So I'd be sweaty, after running, and sticky. And for some reason, I know this is going to break a few hearts. I get that same vibe with Decadence by Marc Jacobs. I've tried so much to understand this fragrance. This fragrance to me is strange. It is earthy. It's got a plum here, a beautifully done plum, but what I get from it, especially with my skin chemistry, even if I, wear this and, even if it's after a bath, when I get into the sun, I just get this stickiness that reminds me of sweat, and not in a good way. And of course, I know this is a fragrance that does better in the cold, but I'm just saying I associate it with that feel, especially when it's hot, right? The next scent association growing up was after these sports. Obviously, I didn't stay near school, so the school bus would take us home, and on our way home we'd pass through the industrial area, and I remember smelling burnt tires. I remember the smell of the smoke from big haulage trucks, because we'd pass through an industrial area, so there was these burnt tires that I'd smell. And this fragrance, Badi Al Oud by Latafa, takes me to that. It's smoky for me, but in a good way, because obviously this is a fragrance. It's smoky and it's woodsy and it's earthy, and it reminds me of that time going back home, smelling the burnt tires, smelling the haulage trucks, the smoke coming from the cars. But like I said, this is a fragrance, so it's in a good way, right? The next scent association I have growing up was getting home after this long day. At our home we had an orchard, okay, so we had a lot of fruit trees. We had mango trees, we had peach trees, apple trees, and apricots especially. So when I'd get home, I would be met by all these trees, especially the apricots, because the apricot tree really gives to a point where, I remember my mom used to do some jam. She used to do some, she used to make some jam and some juice out of the apricots and stuff, but we still couldn't finish this. So I would be met with the smell of apricots arriving home, and then I'd go straight to the fridge, obviously, and get some juice. So this is a fragrance that is a very realistically fruity fragrance. I get the apricot out of this, I get the peach. This is a fragrance by Zara, but not the Zara. This is a Zara with an H, right? It's called Faraway Femme. I haven't seen anyone talk about this fragrance, but this is a super realistically fruity fragrance, especially it smells a bit peachy, a bit apricot-y. So that is, the scent memory. It takes me to that, especially in the blazing heat. After that, okay, even against my will, because growing up, as a child, even after those sports, you don't mind just diving, onto the couch and watching telly. But my mom would insist, or my aunt, if my mom is not around, would insist that we take a shower. That was my sister and I. So taking a shower, my mom was obsessed with the Johnson & Johnson products. She had the baby powder, she had the soap, she had the lotion, she had the oil, she had the lot. So we used to use that. She had the shampoos and all. And that reminds me of this Chanel number 5. This was a signature scent, not this particular one, but I mean Chanel number 5 was a signature scent. So that time when I'd go to Bath after this hot blazing sun and I would be met with these Johnson & Johnson products, if you've used them, you'd know that they do share a small similarity with the Chanel number 5, because they are quite powdery, floral, citrusy, ambery, which is what I also get from this Chanel number 5. Right. And then after that, I would look forward to the weekends, obviously. The weekends would, do the park, would sometimes do the cinemas, but I'm going to talk about the park because cinemas are indoors. So we'd go to the park, and this was like the really, really fun time. And I had a lot of scent memories, smells of summer that I can associate with a lot of fragrances in front of me here. We'd go to the park. Immediately we get to the park. The first thing that used to hit me as a child was because they'd always keep the sprinklers on to make sure that the lawn maintains its greenness and the flowers maintain their greenness and their beautiful colors. So that, the watered lawn and the watered flowers and the evaporating that moisture from the water that they receive remind me of this Fendi Blossom. This is a super floral, it's a white floral fragrance, and it's very green as well. So it takes me to those flowers, the different scents, the cherry blossom, possibly the magnolia in here, just takes me down, memory lane to that time, entering the park. Now, getting into the park during the summertime when it was hot as a child, I would obviously go for the rides. This was like a theme park, where there were a lot of rides and a lot of carts, people selling ice cream, selling marshmallows, selling candy floss and the like. So that was part of the thrill of going to the park. I knew that I'd get my, my fair share of that, because it always came, as the little treats that would, get for playing and being happy as children. So I would go for the candy floss machine, and I would go for the marshmallow and the bubble gums and whatever. And this takes me to this fragrance. This fragrance reminds me so much of that. This is Italiana Donna by Armaf. This has got some marshmallow. It's got the candy flossy feel, kind of sweet, kind of bubble gummy, that sort of feel. And still at that, I'd go for some sherbet as well. Now, I couldn't help but, include this Diva by Emmanuel Ungaro. This is LA Diva. This is a sweet fragrance that is honey-based with a bit of some... It's got some honey. It's a bit powdery as well. It's got some I think it's got, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's got some blackberry, and it's got some vanilla and some mousse. So it's got some raspberry. Sorry, I was mixing my notes here. It's got some pear and some raspberry. So this gives me that sherbety vibe. If you've used this fragrance, it just smells of candy, like being in a candy store. Another one that I would always make sure I don't pass on was licorice, and this takes me to the licorice, this Signorina Misteriosa. What I get more from this is licorice than anything else. Okay, fine, it's got the blackberry, it's got the milky mousse, it's got the vanilla. If I'm sounding like I'm repeating my notes, it's because I'd got them twisted earlier between this Emmanuel Ungaro's Diva and this one. So this is the one that's got the blackberry and some milky mousse. It's got some vanilla as well. And it takes me to the time when I'd buy some licorice, or I'd get licorice given to me, and it would be this long, snake-looking, beautiful, curled up, rolled up. It wasn't into those small sweets. It was like they sold it like a long wrap, and I just used to enjoy that because I would eat some and then save some to take to school, and obviously enjoy that. And then lastly, at the park, obviously I'd make sure we don't leave without getting some ice cream. And for ice cream, this takes me to that time. This is a milky fragrance. It's got some licorice as well, but to me, it just reminds me of this, ice cream, especially when it's melting, in its melting state, something like that, something weird like that, just reminds me about, that time in the summer, eating ice cream as a child in a blazing heat while playing with friends and stuff like that. So yeah. And then again, even now, and if I didn't mention this, I'm talking about Africa, the heat in Africa, okay? And even now, I was going to talk about, another scent memory, another, perfume that takes me, that I associate with the smell of summer, which is Impressions. Impressions, obviously, as you may know, this is a dupe. This is called Impressions because it's a dupe, but it's duping Les Impressions by Dolce & Gabbana. This is Pandora's Impressions. We have what are called freezes. These are like juice that is put, it's got a lot of different flavors, and it's put in like sachets, and it's frozen. It's sold frozen. It's preferred frozen, to an extent that if you find someone who's selling it defrosted, then you just move to the next person to find a frozen one. So watermelon was always my flavor of choice at the time. After this heat, this burning heat, nothing, there is a certain heat in Africa that would not be quenched by anything really. So I would go for that, and get myself a frisette in a watermelon flavor. And this just reminds me of that, because this is tropical. It's got some kiwi as well, and I just, it takes me to that moment chewing on ice. Like I said, this particular drink had to be iced, for you to enjoy it, or still has to be iced for you to enjoy it. So Impressions by Paris Corners Pandora, is a scent association, is what I associate with, buying those freezes. Another thing that takes, that is a smell of summer that I remember, or I still experience, is, after this burning heat, obviously, it gets to a point where the atmosphere just knows it's got to rain, because it's just too much. So there's a build-up of these clouds, nimbostratus, if I can still remember my, was it geography? Yeah. These clouds, and you'd see the clouds forming, and then there'll be thunderstorms, and then, okay, the rain would pour down. And in that moment, I would, smell, as the rain poured down immediately, because of that transition, that immediate change. We were surrounded by gum trees, and we still are actually, where I grew up. I don't stay there obviously anymore, but I mean, the home is still there, still surrounded by gum trees. And then as soon as the rain hits down, those gum trees would just emit this, aroma, or is it a scent, or, of the gum trees. And that definitely, is something that I get from this stash by Sarah Jessica Parker. In the rain, as it starts and even as it ends, because when the rain goes, if it's summer, if it's not at night, in Africa, the sun immediately comes back again. So the trees would give out this this aroma, or I don't know which word I should be using, whether it's scent or the smell or whatever, but these trees would give out, and I'd, remember these gum trees, it was that herbal feel, the woodsiness, all of that I get in this Sarah Jessica Parker's stash, because this perfume is woodsy, it's earthy, it's got mosaic woods, it's got some cedar as well. So I get that. And then another scent another fragrance that I associate with the smell of summer is this one, because in the same area where I grew up, we have the juniper berry tree. So the first thing I smelled when I sprayed this perfume for the first time, because I hadn't tried it, I was gifted this perfume. So the first thing I smelled was the juniper berries, they were everywhere, they are everywhere. So that I associate with summer, because those trees would give and give and give, and in the blazing heat sometimes would just take some, the trees that we had, they had the small ones, so they were quite annoying. You just take them for the fun of it, because you actually had to have like a handful for you to even eat them, but they weren't that tasty. They have this kick. If you've eaten them before, they're not that tasty, so you wouldn't really like. I think they're okay for cooking or baking or whatever, but you eat as an actual fruit, they weren't that tasty. They were just little tiny ones, so you'd have to feel your hand, and for the fun of it, just throw some in your mouth, to have a taste of them. So Killer Oud Nights of Arabia takes me back to that time where I just remember the heat and these big trees giving up these juniper berries, and all that working together and enjoying the sun. So yeah, I was doing a tag that was created by Chantelle Tiffany, which is the smells of summer, and I was in turn tagged by Veronica Says. Like I said, I will link both their channels in the description below, and you can click their channels and you can go and support their channels. If you haven't done this tag, consider yourself tagged. It is just a beautiful tag, honestly. So thank you, Veronica, for tagging me. So I do hope you enjoyed. If you stayed up to this time, thank you very much. If you haven't subscribed, please do consider subscribing and join this family. Also remember to click the bell icon so that you are notified anytime I upload a video. It's been your girl, C Chronicles. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Let's meet in the comment section. You let me know if you've got fragrances that remind you or that take you to the smells of summer, or fragrances that you associate with the smells of summer. It's been your girl, C Chronicles. Thank you for joining me today, and remember, smelling good is a form of good manners. Cheers.